Well, I'm starting a live video down here in the former mortuary prep room, which is now the Super Hesh skateboarding workshop, and Edward Pigeon, the beautiful mold that will make your 35-inch knee board 13-inch wide right there. There it is. Just finished getting these aligned and properly set up down here. It's a little different because I've got 4 presses pressed up against each other. It's nice to see your names showing up. Good morning, John Ryan Zander. And I spent the morning so far drinking coffee, snagging a vape on the porch, and oh yeah, I also this morning tied my beard. So every couple of months I got to tie my beard, and we started a new dreadlock today. That's going to be this guy. If this rubber band holds, this front part here will become a pure white from the start dread. And today was beard tying day, so that means a lot of the volume in the beard gets pulled in. Every now and then people ask me if I cut my beard. Well, I do dread repairs. I use rubber bands, and when they get longer I use some grapeseed oil, and the rubber bands come right out with grapeseed oil. You turn them into paint with the grapeseed oil, and then you wash them out with soap. So today I tied my beard, so my beard has changed a little bit, and started dread number 7 right there. We'll see how it goes, guys, so you can track it real time. Public. It's none of anyone's damn business, and yet I'm posting it on a public feed. So many things that are nobody's business. Your politics are not anyone's business unless you want them to be. Your religion is nobody's business unless you want them to be. And if somebody doesn't like your politics or your religion, they have every right to both say so and unfollow, unsubscribe. But there they are. Their mouths are open and they are hungry. Now this one doesn't have jacks in it because jacks cost $200, and in the great shuffle, oh, do I think I will ever shave it off? Oh, I love seeing that word, Corey Rogers. That is the name above all names, and I love seeing it. Do I ever think I'll shave it off? I can't imagine a life of such luxury that I would be allowed by circumstance and situation to keep a beard as impractical as this one for all my days. That would be a privilege beyond imagining. Really, I can't imagine being allowed to have. You know what I also thought, you guys? You know that same shirt joke I make? Because when I go on motorcycle trips, I thought the same shirt movement, now introducing same shirt, journey from motorcycle skate trip to shop rag, because that's what happens to all the same shirts. I should be framing them, but instead they become my shop rag. So I wear a shirt out to Texas and back, and then it becomes a shop rag. My friend Rex Harris printed up these shirts, and it says "Real Bikers Kiss on the Mouth," and it's a tribute to the culture, and also ironic and sort of fun and funny. Not a biker, never gonna step to it. I don't have the chops. But yeah, the Dread Tracker app. So it's a good feeling in here. It's a bad feeling on how late I am. I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing this, but I think you can see I've got a board in surgery up here. This is a board because I changed workshops. A few, I think 2 of my uncuts warped. This one warped a lot, and warps are a mystery in skateboard making, and a lot of times you can hunt down why the board's warped, but you can almost never hunt down a predictive measure on how they warp, why they warped, and can you reverse that situation and reverse a warp These are the questions of the ages. Right now I'm applying opposite weights to it, but that's only going to be a flow board, because what I've found is when a board warps, and that one was pin straight. It was pin straight for a long time, sitting waiting to be cut, and it and its neighbor in my, come on with me, it and its neighbor were in my little, this is the first thing I built. I've probably told you before. This is the first thing I built, was this room. This room is triple insulated. This is a serious piece of room building here. I framed this room in with the interest to mitigate humidity. And this board that warped was right over here. And this humidifier is blowing that way. So it's blowing into this corner and up this wall. Now my idea is that that's diffuse enough for these not to get direct flows of air. But I suspect that this flow up caught underneath these and carried over along this wall and warped the board here and the board here, just by an imbalance of humidity. But you know what this is? This is just a conspiracy theory. I don't think it's grain direction. I don't think it's any, I had a really consistent batch of layups. I don't think it's glue application or grain direction, and the reasons I dismiss those are that the boards were so consistently straight for so long after their curing while I was, so I really think it's the new, I moved them from the one shop over to here. The other shop had almost no climate control, and it stayed in the proper humidity. And this shop is heavily climate controlled. I've got a stone foundation sealed with hydro cement on all the walls, and it's working really well. I have no drips, I have no water flow. I do have a drainage leak sometimes on the back of the house where the spray room is. That used to be a coal chute, and now is a spray room. And the old coal chute, I filled it, but I have a slab pour going in there for a new porch on the back of the house that is going to take care of that, because it's a surface flow. Let me grab this real quick. So I'm using weight to try to reduce what is a warp of about, you know what, it's a big warp. To me, a 1/4 inch warp on the hip, that's a big warp. And when you stand on it, it does straighten out, but I feel a 1/4 inch warp. An 1/8 inch warp is more than I like. A 1/16 of an inch warp, I have made boards with a 1/16 inch warp before. Actually made them when they're straight, and they'll warp a 1/16, and then I set them aside. And then I come back and they're straight again. And like I said, I can spitball ideas. Some of my ideas have traction, others not so much. But what are you gonna do? You just keep going. And I don't get a lot of warps. I think the reason I don't get a lot of warps is my glue application. My glue is dialed in. I use as little glue as possible to get a proper bead and a proper bond. But I really don't like to see glue extruding and draining down the sides, because that puts a lot of moisture into already dry wood. The wood is dry, you're putting it at 100% humidity with that glue, then it comes out and it drops back down to 50 or 30% humidity, because that's where I'm cranking between 30 and 50% humidity shop wide. And that's a big change. And the more change you introduce into a laminate product, the more opportunity and higher likelihood there is that you're going to get warping. It's just the way it is. If you have a deck that's warped, wreck it. Just skate it. Skate it and step on it the opposite way. Make it just make it your servant. And if it really 540s, Kevin Colvard says, over a 1/8 inch warp throws off my 540s. And I think right there, Kevin is ironic and on point. This is the piece that needs to be, this right here in here needs to be the part that's well calibrated and very high precision. It's the high precision work of your own heart, your own inspiration, your own sense of stoke that needs to be worked on. And that's not a question of that's not a question of what picture's on your board or whether your board is perfect. You get a caliper out, you're going to find out that no board is perfect. None of them have been, and some of the ones you enjoyed the most were the least precise. And the reason you enjoyed them the most was because you were the magic ingredient. You were the high precision element, and that's what I love about the reality of skateboarding. Tim Schaefer, a longtime board maker and a true excellent expert craftsman, comments that the core plies shrink more than, let me see what it is. You said that the cross plies shrink more than the core plies. Tim, let's talk about that. They all shrink the same. They all shrink similarly. So in a skateboard, you've got one layer of long, second layer of long, one layer of cross, center layer long, one layer of cross, and then again long and long. When these directions of grain shrink, they shrink along the weaker cross direction. That is, a piece that's got long grain this way is going to shrink this way. A piece that's got grain this way is going to shrink this way. And lots of times in the factories, they will cut boards right out of the presses. They've got 6-minute press times in some of these. They pull them out wet. They throw them straight to the CNC cutter. CNC cutter heads them, rounds them. They're off to the line, and they've got their nice round edges, and then they dry. And that further drying, you've all had a board like this. It's not a fatal flaw. Thanks, Matt Chirac. I miss your face too. Thanks for coming out to Indianapolis and helping me with my wiring. Your comments are really good this morning. I'm laughing because of them, but they won't show up on YouTube. And how I wish for a platform that I felt secure in. I do not feel secure or trustful of any platform, and I'm very content to see my videos having 8 views on them. That's a better feeling than trying to deal with thousands of views and caring about analytics and like that. I'm out of that. I'm taking a break for a year or so here. But this shrinking this way and that way, so your long grains are going to shrink to make the board narrower. And then, oh, you got this shirt too, Matt? I like this shirt. Love you, Sean. Then your cross grains are going to shrink this way. And that means your cross grains aren't going to come in like your long grains. And that means you have 2 cross grain layers in your board that are going to shrink longitudinally. They're going to reduce distance. It means you get 2 ridges along the board where your cross grains are. Your 2 cross grain plies will protrude, and sometimes this protrusion it's substantial, and you can really feel it with your nail, you can see it with your eye, and all that means is the board didn't finish drying before it was cut. Is it worse? Is it better? Well, it means that the factory that made your boards cuts them wet and finishes them wet. So I don't like that. That means that they're running a speed operation, not a quality operation. I mean, it doesn't mean that, but it could indicate that. You know, it's, I mean, you have to be moderate. It doesn't mean that the factory is crap or that the board is bad. It just means, oh, okay, well, they're using quick glue, quick process, throwing them in, no cure times. Those things can and usually do result in a diminishment of quality, but like I'm trying to say, like, you got to be moderate about this. It's not You know, look, I'm not excited about factory production, but I mean, I also have, you know, I'm spoiled here. I've got the benefit of having a basement full of board pressing. You know, I had a guy call me up yesterday from Georgia, and he said, "Hey, well, you know, I want to make my own press," and I'm like, "Do it," you know. And it costs about $1,000 to build a press if you're really going to do it. If you never consider your time, if you consider your time, I mean, my rate on time is pretty high. You know, the older I get, the more things I know, you know. But, you know, if you want to build a press, it's all open source, you know. That's one of the first things I did was I tried to get this open source so nobody could come in and patent it. I was upset when a major board maker patented using corrugated wood, because corrugated wood is the outer layer of a cold growth tree. And now none of us can use corrugated plies, which I don't want to, you know, because they do this inside the board. That's that helium technology or that airlight technology, or they put names on it. And the guy patented the use of a simple product that none of us can buy now and use, because, so I didn't want that to happen with making a press. So I built my presses specifically so that every piece on there you could have replaced or serviced. One time a line broke at a factory and a whole bunch of people didn't get their boards because, like the helium construction. That's just a simple use of a previously discarded portion or a specialty portion of laminate. They found a good use for it in skateboarding, and I think they worked hard to get it to work. I don't care. I don't care about gimmicks. I care about quality. 7-ply, 8-ply, or 9-ply, or 6-ply. I don't care about fabric applications to boards right now. Will I ever do them? Sure. I will use a penultimate glass layup in my boards, just like Uncle Wigglies did, except I'll use more plies, create indestructible boards that way. But let me tell you, my friends, procuring the right kind of glass, bedding the glue twice as thick on the glass exposure so you get a good bond. I'll use the same glue I use. It'll work fine. And then a board that's going to last a really long time. I just don't think that when you're able to make when you're going to make boards that really last, it doesn't matter. I love classic 7-ply maple. Maple is harvested responsibly. Please don't get me started on bamboo, and don't get me started on the byproducts of hemp resin manufacturing. None of that stuff is green compared to the hundreds of years that maple is being planted and harvested in stands that are well managed and well regulated throughout the world. And I'm enthusiastic about 7-ply maple construction. Maple is such an amazing wood with it's got the properties of a hardwood in a softwood. It's a great thing. Bamboo tends to chip, bamboo tends to flex. Bamboo is a fancy pants gimmick in most of its applications, and bamboo is usually procured from stands that are not under any supervision, and the ecological destruction is worth talking about. I don't have the time. I've got 7-ply laminate to crush today. These guys are up and running, and I'm so happy about it. And I'm going to get a few cans of that Flex Seal, and I'm going to seal my molds with Flex Seal and get this looking. I have been a guy who decides not to make things look better because I've been in survival mode for 12 years, just trying to create and sustain what was my effort to mainstream high quality premium service skateboard branding. And now I'm off that. I'm in my own shop for my own joy, off of the business spectrum. And oh, God bless you, Mike Vieser. You guys are very kind. Is it hard to get a good glue joint on bamboo? No, it's not. But bamboo is not as stiff. It's a flexy. It's longitudinally flexible compared to maple. Maple is longitudinally stiff. So if I had a piece of bamboo, it would flex twice as much as this piece of maple. I mean, it's just so much more flexible. The maple is more stiff. So longitudinal flexibility. Now, lateral flexibility is the flexibility this way, and on maple it's quite weak. Longitudinal flexibility is quite stiff. Maple is delightful and wonderful. And hey, look, I loved the Rev decks from back in the day, except their concave was no good for me because I'm a concave snob. I thought, why, maybe you guys could make a concave that's a little more, like, got a little more depth to the places where I want my depth of concave. And they were like, well, we would have to spend like $250,000 on milling a new mold. And I realized that the composite skateboard, it has a lot of benefits, and it razor tails too. Razor tailing is a bummer. I had an aluminum skateboard, one of those aircraft skateboards, and I used to rebuild the replaceable tips with JB Weld. And I would just rebuild the tip and skate it, rebuild the tip and skate it. And I loved my aluminum skateboard. It was way too stiff, but I didn't care. I loved the idea of it. And, it was like 7.75 wide, and I remember they were so skinny back then. But I called that company, and they said they were sending me tips, and they didn't. I think they closed. My friends called me. They asked me to make them skateboards, and I went off the grid for 2 months. I did not intend to ghost anyone. I'm going to explain it again. Look, the first week I took off, I began to unsnarl the knot of the thing. The first week, about day 8, I thought, I need another week, and I took a second week off. And now I was behind. And then by then I had gotten the knot unsnarled enough to know, well, wait a second. We've got some really big priority problems here. And I started to correspond, and I pitched to my customers, hey, look, I got a delay. Started to get people contacting me and started to talk to them. And I set a date for the 15th, which all week I thought was today. It's tomorrow. Friday the 15th, Saturday the 15th. I'm bad at that. I'm real bad at it. And I took a couple of trips. I went up and saw Tommy's story, and I talked it through with Tommy, and just started to let people know what I was thinking, and got some wise counsel, talked to some of my older friends, older parents, people who'd been in business before, and began to make some decisions. So the decision wound up being to shut down Fickle, finish the orders in the queue, and then adjust, be a man with a cool basement. Just man cave this thing. And love you, Edward. And the other thing is, I love our videos, and doing these videos is something I love very much. And it was the major seller for my work. And I didn't like that, because I didn't start this to have a YouTube channel and to be a YouTube guy. I didn't want that behind why I'm talking to you. I wanted other things behind why I'm talking to you. I wanted our common love of skateboarding and our common cultural ground to grow. I wanted to have the effect of reducing some of the industry insanities that we've got going on, and I can't do that while I'm using it to sell you skateboards. I can't do that. So if anybody wants a skateboard, you're gonna have to do it on a friendship basis with me, and I'm not a business right now. I'm still here. I'm still in what I consider to be a fight for the soul of skateboarding. I think the soul of skateboarding has been sold out to a lot of stuff that isn't the soul of skateboarding. And we may or may not like those things just fine. I, of course, will continue to break those down in the future. But today my interest was to show you guys, look, I got them in, they're tacked, they're open, they're hungry. I'm gonna go feed them as I finish up what looks like by the end of the day. Definitely 6 boards are finished. You wanna see them? I'm gonna go get them. Hang on. Actually, I'm gonna hit this low power mode button, and it's hard to pick them all up, but let's go in the wood room and take a look at what's shipping today. These two, I got hung up on their graphics yesterday. I had a hard time getting those graphics on there. And then these are going these are going to the Bowl of Cones in Texas. I am humbled to have had a chance to make these for the Bowl of Cones. These are all individual custom shapes. Each one was originated by my hands and my brain. The thing about them is their finishes, they've got bumps in the finish. I'm gonna hit these with a quick sand, but they've got some pretty big particles in their finish. And I hope that folks will understand there's a degree to which I kind of suck at this job. You know, they're beautiful, but they're a little bit bumpy, and I had to suck it up. I had to suck it up, buttercup, and just accept that these finishes are a little raspy because I was in the middle of moving the shop and I just didn't tone down the dust enough to get the finishes I want. But they're shiny and they're there. Also, the screen printing on them. I suck at screen printing. I'm actually pretty good at it, but when I think of like a Jesse Garza at Cat Palace, or when I think of Frank Purcell's like awesome hand-done art that he does, I just I'll tell you who's got the good art. Frank Gardner. I can't talk about art on boards without mentioning Frank Gardner, because Frank's approach to art on boards is amazing. Oh, and Be More Street Sleds. Dave at Be More Street Sleds is producing these elegant and really beautiful designs that are their tape-offs and paint fields, and his screens are simple. You know, I really love these guys, and I think they are the bee's knees, and I love their work. And as I go forward, I'll be imitating things with my own twist. That's all that I think most art is imitation with a twist. And sand with foam, sand pad, hit one more coat, you're gold. Yeah, you know, I should have. The problem with those boards, Tim, is I used paint on them, and once some of those defects were under 2 layers of paint, you'd hit it with a foam sand pad, you'd knock a layer of paint off, and it just looked terrible. And what I did was I neglected to let the grain rise, because I didn't poly it before I painted it. I wanted the first layer of paint in the board, so the white base won't come off the board, and it's the way I was thinking. I should have primed and sanded and then started with paint. My mistake, and I hope every single person who gets one looks at it and goes, well, Lou's a special kind of guy, and Lou did the best he could do, and having the best Lou could do at that time in his life is you know, I hope they can see that as a positive. I do. I sure do. When I used to get boards from 5 Points, I loved the rough hewn aspect of it, and I've indulged myself in a lot of progress with rough hewn, you know, rough edges, and so that's where it's at. Look, friends, I hope, you know, honestly, with the way things are forming out, as I clear this queue, my bandwidth is really going to open. My attention used to be on so many things at once, and now my attention is focused on being with you guys. And my board making volume right now, I am not, after the queue is done, I haven't figured out how many boards a month I need to be making in order to feel happy. And if that number is large, and if it's happy and it's good, then I'm gonna go ahead and incorporate, you know, business again and do business. If that number is small, I'm happy and I'm gonna be man caving. So, I like what J. Robert Dobbs is writing. I wish that I could grab the videos from Facebook with the comments and put them on YouTube, but instead I have to just share the raw file onto YouTube when the NSA clears my post for posting. Sometimes uploading takes a really long time because I just have an iPhone and an iPad, But, okay, you guys. I'm being lazy now. I got to get back to work. Hi, Mom. I love you.